Yo, what's going on, YouTube? It's been a hot minute, hasn't it? Welcome to the Cupid 3, or Season 3, Version 2 recap. Now, you're probably thinking, Cupid, what happened to the Cupid Season 3? Well, a lot of things happened. Basically, what had happened was, Showdown lost all of the replays that existed after the 2020, and that was very, very demoralizing for me, because I had already been a couple weeks behind on doing the recap recordings and all that good stuff, and I just wasn't able to do those recaps. And then after week 8 of what would have been last season stalled on for a little bit too long, I decided, you know what, maybe we'll look into just having a fresh start, right? And then, in addition to this, I'm running a subathon over on Twitch that will probably be ending by the time you guys watch this. Yeah, so we hit a subathon goal to restart the Cupid from scratch, for Season 3. So we have new entrants, we have new teams, and more importantly, the DLC. A lot of the DLC stuff is allowed. For the most part, though, the team rules are still the same. Now, here's the very, very unfortunate part of this season's recap. I actually am not familiar, like, at all with anything from Generation 9's DLC. I never touched it. So I genuinely can't say for certain if any of these teams are truly what I am saying or not. But I can do my best based on the information that I have given from playing with these Pokemon in random battles and stuff like that. So, without further ado, let's do no further and just get into the recap. So, first things first, Jingle goes and he drafts Ogerpon Wellspring. I don't even know what type Ogerpon Wellspring is, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna assume water fighting if I had to guess. I could be wrong. I am very sorry, I did not take the time to do any research for this video. Hisuian Gudra, Enamorous Therian, Skeledirge, Mega Gardevoir, Dekidui or Decidueye, Weezing Galarian, Stunfisk, and Blissey. How do I feel about this so far? Based on what I know of these Pokemon, there's not actually that much physical defense on this team. And in addition to this, you don't really have too many what I would call switch-ins to ground types. Like, sure, you have Decidueye, which is cool. Weezing with Earthquake is always nice. Make sure to be cautious of Mold Breaker. And you have the Enamorous, right? You have those three. That being said, Enamorous, let's use my poster boy as an example, Excadrill. If you're putting Enamorous in front of an Excadrill to avoid an Earthquake, you're going to be in a lot of pain when you get Iron-Headed instead. So you got to be cautious of that. Again, I don't really know what Ogerpon does, but I'm going to assume it's a good Pokemon based on the fact that we made it 20 points. I didn't even make the tier list this time. Shouts out to Crystal Wolf for making the tier list for me. I appreciate it greatly. That being said, Hazard's game, our defoggers are Weezing and Decidueye. I don't really know how much I like it that much. And also, as far as I'm aware, we might be a little bit weak to knock off. Again, don't really know what Ogerpon does, or what type Ogerpon is. Which is, pretty strange to think about, right? A former Pokemon content creator doesn't know what Ogerpon is. Yeah, I know. It's been a long time since I've been away, chat, and YouTube commenters. It's been a long time, but it's okay. I'm gonna do what I can to get caught up and understand everything, hopefully before the end of the season. So yeah, overall, a very good special defense. You have Blissey, that's all you need. Stunfisk is, I guess, a joke pick or something. I don't know what Stunfisk adds to this team, aside from like a ground stab, but like, do you really need that at this point? I'm not entirely sure. I think your speed tiers are probably a little bit lacking here. I think your fastest Pokemon, if Ogerpon is fast, it's Ogerpon. Otherwise, it's Mega Gardevoir, which isn't exactly that fast. So you got to be cautious of being outrun. Enamorous Therian, I think, is kind of quick, but not like super quick. I could be wrong. I don't remember. But yeah, you also kind of lack in priority, again, unless Ogerpon does that, which would be, If Ogerpon is the glue that holds everything that I am poking holes into this team, then, you know, cool. Very good. You have a great team. If Ogerpon doesn't do all of these things that I'm pointing out, you may want to consider, you know, working towards those things. All right, next up we have Euzoria, a new face to the Cupid Draft League. Very frequent in my Yu-Gi-Oh! Content stuff, especially of late on Twitch. So yeah, very grateful for Euzoria to step in and try other content. And let's get into the team review. So we lead with Mega Latios, which is legal this season. That's a solid pick. We have Rillaboom, Greninja, Tapu Bulu, Meowscarada, Mimikyu, Vikavolt, Regigigas, and Gengar. So immediately I've noticed that you have 2 fire resists. One of them is Greninja, and the other is Latios. Now, here's the issue. Greninja, I wouldn't really call a fire resist because he is so fragile defensively that you're probably not coming in on a fire type, like a strong fire type attack, and surviving 2 hits. So you're at that point relying on your Greninja coming in and being faster than whatever fire type you have put it in front of. And, you know, that's just not going to be good enough. Mega Latios is a fantastic Pokemon, however, but it's not the most bulky. So you still have to be a little bit cautious with that. It's got great bulk, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be enough defensively to solo you against a fire type, right? That being said, there is basically no other defensive presence on this team. Mega Latios is genuinely the bulkiest threat on the team. That is not even really an exaggeration either. You have the double grassy terrain setters between Rillaboom and Bulu. That's very redundant. I highly recommend switching one of those out for something else, because those 2 Pokemon do the same thing. Also, as far as I'm aware, you do not have access to Stealth Rock at all, unless Regigigas got it in Generation 9. You want Stealth Rock because Stealth Rock is an absolutely vital part of singles. Like, entry hazards are super strong. Like, they do so much. They break focus sashes, they get residual damage, they get more and more value over the duel. You know, not the duel. I said duel. I've been playing too much Yu-Gi-Oh! Lately. The battle. And yeah, they're just really good. They give your opponent something that they have to deal with as well. All of these things coincide to create a very, very good, you know, presence. Now, you do have spikes from Greninja, which is all fine and dandy, but you want Stealth Rocks because, you know, spikes only affects grounded Pokemon. Stealth Rock, however, does not care if you are grounded or not. In fact, it will punish you for being a flying type. Now, the Defog game, for those of you who don't know, Defog is a good move because it's a move that removes your opponent's, or, well, all entry hazards and, you know, screens and all that other good stuff, which you will probably experience at some point in your drafting lifetime. Now, as far as I'm aware on this team, the only defogger is Mega Latios. And at that point, you're using Mega Latios as a defogger instead of as a massive offensive threat like it can be. And you don't, that's not really desirable. You don't really want that. So I recommend probably trying to look up Pokemon with Defog or Rapid Spin. You know, some other way to remove the entry hazards. Maybe even a Court Change user if Cinderace wasn't picked. I have a feeling it probably was. But yeah, a Court Change user or something. Rapid Spin, Defog. You want something to get those hazards off of your side of the field. So in addition to your massive fire weakness, you have an even more threatening weakness to flying. Now, there aren't many stellar flying type attacks. Like, and by stellar, I don't mean stellar typed, but like, you know, super strong flying type Pokemon, right? But you have no resistances to flying, and you have 3 Pokemon that are weak to it. So you need to be very cautious of that. You need to be careful to just not get rolled up and tossed to the side by, you know, a singular, let's just say, I don't know, Zapdos Galarian, or a singular Heatran, or something like that, you know? You gotta be cautious of all that. So I would make a couple of changes to maybe accomplish, you know, an improvement in that direction. Next up, we have Spirit. Spirit is an experienced Draft League player, friend of Plasma's, joined at the end or joined during season 3 of the Cupid originally. And let's see what he's got for us. Mega Lopunny, Roaring Moon, Booster Energy not legal. Corviknight, Rotom Heat, Screamtail, Ogerpon, Cornerstone, Gastrodon, Hisuian Zoroark, and Glimmet. Alright, so this draft has basically everything you're looking for. You are not weak to knockoff. You have, great Pokemon against knockoff in Roaring Moon. You have Mega Lopunny, which is a fighting type to scare out all of those dark types. And you also have, your Corviknight, which is a very, very bulky Pokemon. Excellent Defogger, just great utility Pokemon in general. You have another great Defogger in Rotom Heat, as well as Electric and Fire coverage, as well as, an already very strong Volt Switch U-turn combination between Corviknight and Rotom Heat. Screamtail is a good Pokemon. It's fantastic for passing wishes and being a general nuisance with things like Encore and Thunder Wave, but it doesn't really have an offensive presence, and you're going to be pretty heavily relying on this Mega Lopunny and this Roaring Moon for that. Ogerpon Cornerstone, no idea. Genuinely can't give any advice on Ogerpon. I don't know what it does. I'm sorry. Gastrodon, I like Gastrodon, good rock setter, because it has rocks now. Hisuian Zoroark, maybe a little bit redundant with the Mega Lopunny, but you have now a good normal type special attacker and a good normal type physical attacker, which is nice. And then a Glimmet, which is occasionally relevant. It could come up, Focus Sash with the Toxic Debris Spit. Could be funny. Sorry about that. Had a sip of my hot cocoa. I needed something hot after stream. So honestly, how do I feel about this draft? Pretty good. Definitely the strongest of the three I've seen so far, based on what I know. I don't know how I feel about Ogerpon. I don't know what Ogerpon does. I will know what Ogerpon does after this week, I assure you. Once I see week 1, I will know what Ogerpon does. I promise. But until then, I don't know. But yeah, this is the best I've seen so far, based on, what I have seen. So let's move on. I'm not going to do numbers because, numbers could get very, very toxic, and I don't want to promote toxicity or anything like that. Next up, we have Mr. Titan T's team. We have Dragapult, Kartana at 18. I think that's really overvalued, but okay, we move. Tapu Fini at 18, also kind of high for Tapu Fini, I would say, but it's okay. These Pokemon were very, very strong in, previous seasons, so it does make sense that they did get moved up in points. That being said, I don't know what the DLC gave that made them that much stronger. Overquill, I don't know how I feel about Overquill. I think Overquill's not great, but it's 9 points, so hey, here we are. Ursaluna, huh? That's legal? Yikes. But luckily, it doesn't look like most of the team is too enabled of Ursaluna. It looks like we decided to change our mind in our game plan halfway through our draft. Porygon, Mega Sableye, Glastrier, Bronzong. Yeah, so these first 3 picks are saying, hey, I'm here, I'm trying to fight you, let's fight, And then we have Overquill, double normal type, Mega Sableye. So we're doubled up on ghosts and normal types, and also doubled up on dark types. Glastrier, Bronzong. Because we decided with our last 6 picks that, Trick Room was the solution. So now we have this team with this huge speed gap in the middle. Because we have, Dragapult, Kartana, and Fini, at 95 plus, right? And then I think our next fastest Pokemon after that is Overquill. And then you just have this massive drop-off of speed. So anything in between there can focus on running like a band or something, and then just hitting you way harder. Also, yeah, you don't want this much type overlap. You have, you have your two ghosts, you have 2 darks, you have 2 normals, you have 2 steels, and yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of overlap. You're probably gonna want to look into fixing that. Now, Hazard's game. How was your Hazards game? It's pretty good, honestly. I don't, I mean, Bronzong's a decent setter. It's always been a decent setter. I think it always will be a decent setter. You have Defog from Vini, which is pretty much all you need. Overquill can set up hazards as well. And then you have your Trick Room shenanigans. And you even have Magic Bounce to try and prevent things that way. But this thing needs to already be Mega Evolved for that. And it loses to Mold Breaker, but that's okay. That's beyond the point. I do recommend fixing the team, though. I don't think you want to be doubled up this many times. So you're probably going to want to make some changes to that. Next up, we have John Gold's team. John Gold came in as a replacement for someone last season. He also has been very helpful in the maintaining and creation of the Cupid Pixelmon Minecraft server, which may or may not be coming very, very soon, I promise. So, here's the team. We have Mega Metachamp, Hisuian Samurott, Iron Treads, Amoonguss, Moltres Thunderous Incarnate, Amolomolomo, Deoxys Defense, and Talo. Okay, so we have decided that we are going to take the Pokemon with the biggest stats possible and make them a team. So we have, very good, Rock Setter, Spinner. We have, Ceaseless Edge. We have Mega Metachamp to punch things really, really hard. We have Amoonguss to Spore and Regenerator. We have Moltres, excellent Defogger. Thunderous Incarnate, hit hard. Wish Passing, very strong Wish Passer. Double Water type, but it's okay. Deoxys Defense, ha 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 ha. Hazards, nice hazard setter. This is all this is going to do this season. I promise this is all this is going to do this season is put up hazards. And if he tries to prove me wrong, he will be punished for it, I am sure. And then Talo's just there. Okay, so our hazards game, we have plenty of setters. Very good. We have a Spinner and a Defogger. I think Thunderous might also get Defog. I could be wrong. Let me just fix the... Oh. Well, now you guys know how I feel about this draft. LOL. Thunderous. I think that's how Thunderous is supposed to be spelled. I don't remember. Oh well. Yeah, honestly, I think this isn't bad. I don't think this is bad. And the reason I don't think this is bad is because, how can you really go wrong with attacker, not bulky attacker, but bulky attacker, status, shenanigans, excellent defogger with heavy duty boots, hit hard, bulky, and bulky, How can you really go wrong? This team's really hard to break. That being said, type weaknesses that I have noticed. Activate Freeze Dry response. Yeah, what Pokemon comes in on Freeze Dry? That's the main complaint that I have about this draft. There is no Pokemon that comes in on Freeze Dry. But we will see how common Freeze Dry is in the... We will see how common... oh, this isn't Thunderous Therian. This is Thunderous Incarnate. Okay, so we had the Prankster one. I mean, that's okay still, I guess. Yeah, I don't think I dislike it, yeah, honestly, I don't know. What comes in? What comes in on Freeze Dry? Let's see how common Freeze Dry comes up, later. Next up, we have Light Rebo's team. Let me try and lean out of the way so you guys can see this. We have Blaziken, Mega Sceptile, Swampert, so we picked all of the Generation 3 starters, Furret, Garchomp, Regieleki, Pecharunt, Latias, Salamence, Thundurus team. Now, this, to me, chat, looks like a team where a guy picked all of his favorite Pokemon. And now, that's okay. You do that. You do that. If you want constructive criticism on this team, however, okay, I don't know if there's a nice way to put this one. This team is ass. I'm sorry, but I believe in you. You're here to have fun, and that is all good. Light Rebo, another one of our Yu-Gi-Oh players. So we have Blaziken, Sure, Blaziken defogs, but it doesn't get speed boost in this league, and it's not very good. As a result, so first picking that already sets us behind. Mega Sceptile, we picked a very mid-mega to choose from. So Mega Sceptile is probably not the answer we wanted, especially in round 2 when there are many more powerful options available. Swampert. Swampert's okay. Swampert's genuinely fine, especially at 10 points. Furret. As much as I love Furret, I'm sorry. Round 4 Furret is never the answer. Round 4 Furret, never the pick. Sorry. Garchomp. Okay, good pick, good pick. Garchomp's a good Pokemon. Regieleki, also good. Pairs well with your Swampert. Very cool. Pecharunt, no idea what it does. No idea. From what I gather, it has base 88 in every stat except for defense, which it has base 168. Very cool. I've heard that the Pokemon is ass, so I probably wouldn't worry too much about it. Latias. Okay, Double Dragon. Okay, okay. Very cool. We have more defense with our second dragon. Third Dragon Salamence. Okay, okay. I hecking love dragons. And then, you know, additional flying type Thunderous Therian to hit hard. So, bring a fairy type against this guy and you win. That's pretty much it. That's all I really need to advise. You know, he's got Garchomp to set Stealth Rocks, and his defoggers are Blaziken or Salamence. So, just hit him, and you'll be okay. Put up rocks, attack. That's all you need to do to win here. So, yeah, I would make some changes to prevent yourself from losing to put up rocks, attack. Alright, next, Bento. Oh boy, chat, it's Bento. Everyone loves Bento, right? So we have Great Tusk, Celesteela, Florges, Ceruledge, Suicune, Hydreigon, Tyrantrum, Raichu, Alola, Ice-Q, and Aeron. Okay, how do I feel about this so far? I like Great Tusk, Celesteela. I do think they pair well together. Florges is good, the Ceruledge is nice, the Suicune's nice. It really pairs well with the Great Tusk and the Celesteela, because between those three you have a, you know, a duo with, you know, that has a resistance to every weakness, thanks to the power of how broken Celesteela is, right? Hydreigon, I don't know how I feel about Hydreigon, but it's okay, we move. Tyrantrum, complete redundancy. You did not need Tyrantrum. What does Tyrantrum do for your team that Great Tusk plus Hydreigon doesn't already do for you? Raichu Alola at 9 points. Why? Ice-Q, okay, funny haha Pokemon, and Aeron to spend your last point. I mean, honestly, this is... Okay, so we have good Hazards game with the Great Tusk basically alone. We also have to use Hydreigon as a defogger because Celesteela does not defog. Yeah, that's rough. But we have plenty of ways to set Stealth Rocks, that's cool. I don't think Florges defogs, I don't think it does. If I remember correctly, it doesn't. I think Comfey is the defogger. I could be wrong about that, though. Yeah, Hydreigon being your defogger is pretty ass. I can't say I recommend that. I'd probably look into getting, like, another Pokemon that could use defog. The type coverage, so you're basically hard tunneled on Celesteela surviving, or you just get swept by Earthquake. Unless Hydreigon's there and your opponent's Earthquake user does not have Mold Breaker like my poster boy Excadrill does. That being said, Suicune's got good bulk. Maybe it'll take an Earthquake or two, and maybe you can fight back a little bit that way. I mean, what else is there really to know? Yeah, the Double Dragon redundancy is not very good. We don't have a... Do we not have a fire type? Oh, Ceruledge, right. We have a fire type, we have a water... Do we have a grass? We don't have a grass. Grass isn't that important, though. Honestly, it's playable. I don't think it's very good though. Yeah, make some changes to, you know, that. And also, I'd like to point out your speed tiers. What's your fastest Pokemon here? Base 98? Hydreigon? How fast is Cerulege? Is Cerulege the fast one? Cerulege is the fast one, right? Cerulege might be the fast one. Yeah. This team's gonna get run over by something faster than it, though. You gotta be very cautious of that. And also Freeze Dry, you know, claims your entire soul on every Pokemon that's not named Cerulege. So maybe look into something to counter that. Alright, moving on to N54 Lionheart, the man who has been funding the subathon that I have been in for the past 13 days. Alright. We have Tapu Koko, Mega Mawile, Superior, Clodsire, Latios, Hawlucha, Chandelure, Iron Jugulus, and Lapras. This looks like a team that the controller knows what they're doing. This looks like a player who knows what they are doing. We have Koko, very good Pokemon. Mega Mawile hits very hard. Superior, good defogger. Smile. This is your defogger. Superior is your defogger. What did I just click? What did I just click? W20? 2? Oh, jeez. No, undo that. Okay. Yeah, Superior is your defogger. Very nice. Clodsire, good Rocks game. Latios, kind of a Copium defogger, but it's okay. Hawlucha, haha, offense. I love offense. Chandelure, top 3 favorite Pokemon of mine. Fun fact. I do love the offense Chandelure outputs. Iron Jugulus, we have Hydreigon at home, and it's not quite as good. But with the terrain, you know, it's probably going to be alright with the Tapu Koko and all that good stuff. And finally, a Lapras. So our Hazards game is going to heavily rely on this Clodsire. It's going to basically be there every single week. And we, as a result of relying on this Clodsire and having our first 2 picks both being weak to ground as well, that's pretty scary. We're already looking at Earthquake being a potential huge threat. We have a Superior and a Latios and a Hawlucha. All of these are fine and dandy against those things. But that being said, and even the Iron Jugulus is good too. But that being said, you know, Pokemon is a game of not winning the game all in one spot. Usually you have to chip away at your opponent and find a crack in which you can then finish the opponent in a dramatic fashion. What is that crack we need to find in this matchup? Well, a Pokemon like Mamoswine goes absolutely insane against this matchup because, you know, all of your things that are there to prevent you from losing to ground, weak to ice, weak to ice, weak to ice, weak to ice, and weak to ice. So, yeah, between ice and ground typing, your team has literally just Lapras to like even hope to have a chance at the onslaught. And I think ice and ground are two of the, or should be, two of the most common offensive types in the game, because Freeze Dry is literally the staple move that I point out to everybody, because Freeze Dry is that good of a move. It is good. If you have an ice type that can use Freeze Dry, you should use Freeze Dry, unless that ice type Pokemon is a physical attacker. And even then, sometimes you use it anyway. Look at Arctozolt, you know? Because Freeze Dry is just a good move. So, yeah, be cautious of, you know, ice type and also ground type. You know, it's not very common that you get both on the same Pokemon, but it can happen. And when it does happen, it's pretty strong. I would recommend perhaps getting yourself like an ice, maybe, I don't know, something that resists ice would be good, because Mega Mawile being your, I think, only ice resist, oh no, Chandelure. So Mega Mawile, Lapras, and Chandelure being, you know, your ice resists, sure, Mega Mawile is great. Chandelure is not a defensive Pokemon. You cannot send in Chandelure on a strong ice type attack. And Lapras is a terrible Pokemon, I'm sorry. I hope it's not your favorite or anything, but it's not good. There's a reason it's 4 points. Like, sure, it'll come in on the Ice-type attack, but, you know, you're already playing a 5v6 at that point. Alright, next up, we have Auto. Alright, how do I feel about Auto's draft? Scizor, Iron Val, Mega Gallade. So this guy really likes Gallade, chat. This guy loves Gallade. Gallade is his favorite. He loves Gallade. He would die for Gallade. And yeah, that's what we're looking at here. Grimmsnarl, Tapu Lele, Silvally, all flavors. Nihilego, Sharpedo, and Pincurchin. Okay. Well, in simple terms, Steel type, right? Fighting type, Fairy, Fairy. Sure. This could be anything. Cool. Ground weak, or not resistant to ground and not resistant to ground. So, major issue. Same thing I just pointed out to Lionheart. Earthquake. Neutral damage, neutral damage, neutral damage, neutral damage, neutral damage. You need to run Silvally Flying to not get 12 0'd by Earthquake. Times 4 weak, no defense, and weak to Earthquake. Yeah. You might want to look into that. Also, your rock setters is Nihilego. Now, Nihilego is a good rock setter. I have played with Nihilego myself. Nihilego is a fantastic Pokemon. That being said, Nihilego is not good enough to do it by itself. I have experienced that firsthand. Nihilego by itself cannot be your only rock setter. You need another one. But the Hazards game is good. You have, you know, Scizor is an excellent defogger. You can put up screens with Grimmsnarl for extra defense. And you also have Silvally of any type to get rid of Hazards as well. That being said, this Iron Valiant is going to not do very much for the team due to the fact that you have to rely on Pincurchin to trigger your ability, which is not the best. Yeah, and it's also a redundancy because, you know, you have Fairy Fighting Psychic, Dark Fairy. In these 3 Pokemon, you have this Pokemon's types twice. That is no good. And then you add a 3rd fairy on after that. Normal summon Heatran response. What do? You probably just cooked on the spot. You need to figure out an answer for that. And you're probably thinking Silvally Ground is the answer, and then they just bring a Pokemon that beats Silvally Ground, and now you've been defeated, right? Not what you're looking for. Maybe try and find yourself something to resist ground because it is the most important offensive type in Pokemon. Earthquake is the most relevant offensive attack in the game. You cannot change my mind about that. Alright, next we got Crystal Wolf. We have Lando T, Raging Bolt, which I don't know what it does, Mega Venusaur, Clefable, Donbozo, Jirachi, Talonflame, Scrafty, Cinccino, and Bento, which is Sunker. So, how do I feel about this? I mean, Landorus, Therian, Raging Bolt, that's pretty good together. Mega Venusaur, no type overlap yet. Mega Venusaur is a fucking crazy Pokemon. It's really hard to kill. Especially when you're comboing it with fucking Lando T and Raging Bolt. But we don't have a Dark type, except for this Scrafty. We have ×4 resistance to Psychic, so that means that our Mega Venusaur and our Raging Bolt feel safer. Safer. Clefable is a good Pokemon. You know, it's just the good at everything Pokemon, but not amazing at anything Pokemon. You know, I think that's how I describe Clefable the best. It's good at everything, it doesn't do anything amazingly, though. Donbozo, or Dondozo, you know, very funny, haha, bulky water type, very cool. Jirachi, I love this Pokemon. I think this Pokemon is so good. And I think it slots into this team fantastically as well. Talonflame, I mean, I can see it being the the primary defogger of this team, honestly. I don't know how much you want to run defog on Lando, if defog even... Lando gets defog. Yeah, Lando gets defog for sure. Yeah. But either way, I can see Talonflame absolutely being the primary defogger of this team. Scrafty is there for, you know, knockoff, I suppose, and, you know, other things that we're really not that scared of anyway. Cincino is 8 points. Why? And Bento. Sucker. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Crystal Wolf already knows everything that I am going to say, but yeah, no, this draft is really solid. It's genuinely really solid. It's got everything you're really looking for, except for you don't have a dragon type, but like dragon's not like super needed. It's not like, you know, the end all be all. You must have a dragon. Fairy Dragon Steel is a strong. Wait, Raging Bolt is wait, no, Raging Bolt's the fucking. That's the Raikou one, right? Walking Wake, Raging Bolt. Yeah. Okay, never mind. You do have a dragon. I forgot. Raging Bolt's a dragon. Yeah, okay. Raging Bolt's a good. Yeah. Yeah, so you have everything. Everything is here. Yeah, this is a strong team. You got U-turn Volt Switch. You've got fucking hazards. You've got fucking defog. You got fucking good type coverage. You've got all of your cores filled out. It's just a really good draft, honestly. And then, you know, the meme Sunkern on the end, just for bonus points, I suppose. Yeah, honestly, good draft, good draft. Alright, Ryevji, who is looking for redemption after the his first season. Ryevji. Alright, we have Spiel Bowling. Ferrothorn, Pelipper, Mega Swampert, Raikou, Barraskewda, Electrode, Hisuian, Snorlax, Snarmy, Keldeo, and Spiel. Okay, so you guys remember when, who was it last season who drafted 7 water types? Who was it? I forgot. I forgot. But, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then technically 6. We also have Ferrothorn here. Ferrothorn being your only answer to your opponent's grass types is not what you're looking for. And I was told to ignore the Hisuian Electrode. I was told to ignore it, so I will ignore it. I will treat it like it is not there. So your team has a pretty dramatic weakness to everything that water is weak to, due to the fact that you have so many water-type Pokemon. Also, Grass runs the fucking numbers on this draft, and also Freeze Dry runs this draft all the way for a touchdown. Like, neutral, 4 times weak, neutral, 2 times weak, you know, neutral. Thick Fat technically makes it a resistance. Weak, and neutral with Thick Fat, technically, but you're not using Sphere. So, yeah. Freeze Dry, huh? That's a good move. I wonder why I'm bringing it up again. It's almost like I said this earlier, right? Freeze Dry is a good move. You should be prepared for Freeze Dry, and this draft, honestly, is not. There's 6 water types. There are 5 usable water types. And on top of that, your Ferrothorn, which is weak to fighting, has a shared weakness with your other Pokemon that is there to soak up your extra hits. So now you're gonna just get blown up for one of these by a fighting type attack, and then the rest of your team gets swept by either a Freeze Dry user or a grass type. And you gotta work on that. You gotta not get soloed by a singular grass type. Who would win? This entire draft? Or one Breloom? The answer is Breloom. Alright, Ant Killer's team. For season 3.5. We have Gliscor, Rotom Wash, Como, Ribombee, Ditto, Goldengo, Victini, Brute Bonnet, and Muk Alola. Alright, so, immediately we've got 1 and also 2 dark types. We decided on 2 of them at the end. We've got Gliscor, which is a good defensive Pokemon. We got U-turn Volt Switch with Gliscor and the Rotom, but neither of those resist grass, and that's not very good. But you do have Como in the back. Como is quite good. It's also a fantastic rock setter. You have good rocks with the Gliscor. You can also defog. You got good hazard game for sure. You got webs with Ribombee. That's never coming up, I don't think. as you know your team's kind of slow anyway. So even after you put up webs, you're gonna not be outspeeding like Scarfed Pokemon, which you know doesn't really help that much. But Revolve does give you a good offensive fairy to complement your Como, and you do have the Steel type and the Ghost with the Goldango as well. So you've got the Fairy Dragon Steel, Fire, Water, and Grass. You've got that. That's what you're looking for. You got Grass, Electric, and Flying. I guess you just go back to Gliscor for Flying. That's pretty strong stuff. And you have your Fighting Psychic Dark. Very good. Honestly, all of the cores are there. The hazard game is there. It's a good draft, right? Now, I will recommend maybe changing this Muck Alola out for like a different grounded poison type. Maybe like a Toxapex if no one has drafted Toxapex. That would be pretty strong, but I don't know how many points Toxapex is, and you probably can't afford it. That being said, there's probably a different answer as far as, you know, your grounded poison types need to be concerned. Probably, at least. I'm not entirely sure yet. Yeah, I don't know. The Muck just feels, again, kind of just redundant. You don't really need the Muck there. I don't feel like you need the Muck there. You can get a different Pokemon for that value. Alright, we got 2 more left. We've got fucking Rudes. Alright. Well, we will watch Rudes. We will look at Rudes' draft then. Let me move myself over so we can see. Alright. So we got Mega Scizor, Zapdos, Toxapex, Heatran, Tinglu, Dragonite, Garg, a Golem, and a Snivy. Okay, so what are we looking at here? We are looking at a pretty solid Generation 8 OU draft, featuring Tinglu. Yeah, honestly. Mega Scizor is good. It's just a good Pokemon. Zapdos is good. Again, just a good Pokemon. Toxapex, I don't know how I feel about Toxapex in draft. 16 feels a little bit high value for it, but hey, you know what? Maybe Roots is cooking something that I don't see. I mean, we do have the Zapdos, but we do have the Zapdos and the Tinglu to cover the things it's weak to, which is pretty nice. So, you know, this is a pretty hard team to break, but it does lack in the recovery that you kind of need from a team of longevity like this one is. Because it definitely reads a lot more like a stall, you know, bulky offense type team than a, you know, like a hyper offense or a stall team. You know, you've got bulky offense, but you don't really have the longevity. Fuck. It's late. I'm sorry. I've been streaming a lot lately. I'm sorry. It's okay. Yeah, so we have Zapdos got Roost. You know, we have Toxapex got Recover. Very cool. That's your healing. Your offense is pretty strange. I don't know how I feel about it. It's got a lot of instant power, but it doesn't really have, like, breakthrough power. Like, the Mega Scizor is going to be your main source of breakthrough power. I mean, Dragonite can get up a Dragon Dance and maybe perform something crazy, but, like, that's very situational, I feel like. Your hazards are good. You have Tinglu, and you have Toxapex, and you have Heatran. Obviously, those are good hazards. You have Mega Scizor and Zapdos, also premium defoggers. And that's also all fine and dandy. Garg is good as well for setting up things like rocks. Honestly, I mean, okay, so if you want to look at it from core's perspective, I don't want to get too nitpicky on what I complain about, but like, if there's something glaringly sticking out to me, I'll point it out, right? Now, this draft to me looks good, despite the fact that it does not have a fairy. The reason you want a fairy is because Dragon type is just a very good offensive type, and you need a fairy to punish the Dragon types, right? So where's your fairy? You don't have one. Okay. Anyway, +6 Garchomp, Scale Shot, Oko, you know, something. I don't know. You know, that's just an example. You know, that's just a simple example. Yeah, honestly, I don't hate it at all. I can't say I hate this draft. This is honestly a fine draft. I do think you want to try and find space for a fairy, though. And I don't know how needed guard is in this draft. So you could find yourself like a 17-point fairy if you drop guard. Worth considering. I'd say it's worth considering. And finally, we have Shadow King with the Kentucky Fried Ho-Ohs. The team is Mega Charizard, Tyranitar, Alakazam, Decidueye Hisuian, Golisopod, Cramorant, Diancie, Articuno Galarian, Sneasel Hisuian, Kingdra, Gardevoir, and Aggron. Okay, so this is what I like to refer to as Pokemon Salad. We have so many Pokemon on our team that it's very hard to analyze all of them. However, I will do my best. So your Defogger is Hisuian Decidueye, and I don't think Articuno Galarian gets Defog. I could be wrong about that, but if I remember correctly, it's not a Defogger. I mean, we have plenty of Pokemon that set hazards. We have, 2 rock types. We have 3 rock types, actually, between Tyranitar, Diancie, and Aggron. That's nice. We have Mega Charizard Y without a good enough Defogger to support it, which is really horrifying when you think about Stealth Rocks doing 50% of your HP on switching in. Charizard Y also does not have a Paradox form to enable with its Sun ability, which is not the best. And yeah, what else do we have that I can complain about? Kingdra and Golisopod. We got the double offensive water type. I don't know how I really feel about that. Also, Kingdra is kind of a redundancy just in general, due to the fact that we already have, Oh, we have triple water types. I'm sorry, I forgot about Cramorant being a water type. Yeah. Okay. We got the double fairy with Gardevoir, Diancie. Yeah, I mean, it's better than last season's draft, but it's still not quite what we're looking for. I would recommend definitely getting a reliable Defogger onto the team, and maybe moving some things around so you don't have doubled and tripled up types, because you really don't want those. So, cores, how are we looking on cores? Do we have a Steel type? Aggron. That's not really good. Do we have a Fairy? Yes, Gardevoir. We also have Diancie. Do we have a Dragon? Kingdra, I guess? Sure, we have Kingdra. Okay. How about Fire, Water, Grass? Do we have a Grass type? Is Decidueye... Yeah, Decidueye Hisui is Grass. So we do have Fire, Water, Grass. That's cool. Dark Fighting, Psychic. Do we have... we have Dark and Fighting, and we have Gardevoir for Psychic, so that's good. Do we have a Ghost type? No, we do not have a Ghost type. And yeah, we also have... Oh my gosh, Articuno Galarian is also a Psychic type. Yeah, we have a lot of type overlap here. Articuno Galarian has types that line up with your Charizard and your Gardevoir. So that one probably can go. Cramorant probably can go. Yeah, there's a lot of changes I'd make here. Definitely try and look at the types of your Pokemon and rework them to not overlap as much. That would probably be in your best interests. That being said, I feel like that's all I really have to say about this draft. So, yeah, that concludes the recap of Cupid's Season 3, Part 2, or Round 2, I should say, the Cupid Draft League. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys whenever I make another video. Later.